Juan Bond,
Here.
Sharon Stittler. Here. Chris Hendrickson,
Here.
Steve Carter,
Present.
Susan Schneider.
Present.
Oh, I accepted the meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the meetings from prior meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting's about proposing voluntary annexation of Paradise Tropical Restaurant and adjacent parcels.
I can just give you a little brief intro here. So George Tucker is one of the owners of, there's actually several parcels involved. I think there's 13 total. They own property along Highway TT, basically down the hill to the restaurant. There's one property that's involved that's owned by Drake Marine, and he has also petitioned for voluntary annexation. And so together, it would be those properties again from TT basically down to the restaurant Paradise. So the commission is asked to review the annexation and then also the zoning. In their petition, they asked for commercial zoning for the Highway TT parcels, and then the lakefront properties, they want the lakefront commercial zoning. And so, again, the commission needs to make needs to review this item, make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees will hold a public hearing a week from tonight, and that would be a formal public hearing. And then this is just kind of you might call it a little bit of preliminary, but again, planning and zoning is asked to make a recommendation to the board. And Mr. Tucker, from one of the owners of the properties, is here. Of course, if there's any question.
The public roads that were not annexed, like, is that on purpose or?
Yes, none of them are wholly within the annexed area. And so my understanding is it's really kind of at the city's option whether we want to take on those roadways, and we would say no.
So we would have to take the entire road if we wanted to take any, not just the part that was adjacent to the property.
Yeah, I mean, basically the way I've been trained, it's maybe more of a little bit of a legal question. The way I've always been trained is if you're taking in property on both sides of the road, I don't know if you have an obligation to take the road, but you should take the road. It becomes, it's within your jurisdiction. In this situation, the road on the north, I don't have the map in front of me.
Steve, do you want this?
We have TT running east and west there.
Yeah,
He's running northish.
Northeast.
So here's Paradise down here.
Yeah.
So TT's
I got
going
it.
right here. This is the turn where there's a Paradise sign.
Okay.
That you can drop down into the neighborhood. But yeah, it's
So it's kind of southwest and northwest.
yeah.
Yeah, there's properties on, I think it's Shawnee View Road is what it's called, if I'm looking at the map.
Shawnee Road's the main one that comes off of TT.
Yeah, so, Tucker, they own properties south of there, if you want to call it south. And then there'd be just properties north that would, are not in the city. Right. And then the same situation happens on the south at Hutton Bay Drive. There'd be properties on the south side of that road that aren't in the city. So yeah, right now we would say, no, we're not taking in the roads. Now, just for sake of conversation, let's say that, more property owners come to us later and say, we want to annex, would you take the road as well? Hutton Bay is a good example. And, it's just a question we'd have to answer at that time. A lot of these roads are, they haven't been built to any particular specification, and if the city takes them, then, you're taking on some potential liability for improving those roads.
A lot of times they have to be up to city standard for, makes sense to take them, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. Like in a subdivision situation, you're not gonna accept a subdivision road unless it was built specifically to the city standards and.
Right now, aren't those all private roads in there?
Yeah, coming, so.
They're not even county maintained, are
The main one is coming off of TT.
they?
So Shawnee View is public until you get to, there's like a four-way almost. You get to the
Right.
bottom of that hill, you take a right to a Paradise, you hit the concrete.
Right.
Right when it hits the concrete, it turns private. And forward, it's still asphalt, it's private, and to the left, it's gravel, private.
Mm.
So there's not gonna be any financial
Right.
for the city anyway, other than the police service.
So how does easements work? Like if his land butts up against that road and he wanted to put utilities along that, is there still an easement on that road?
You never really know until you look at the specific situation. In general, the county roads, the public county roads are typically 40-foot right-of-ways. That's what I've experienced here. And so, of course, with some of our water and sewer projects, we stay in the right-of-way. We also try to get private easement when we can. It's kind of a mix. Usually, in most cases, you try to get the private easement if it's available, but if you've got multiple property owners, sometimes that's difficult.
You have,
I think that they would, I think they possibly could help us. One thing I don't want to do, I don't really have budget to do, is to hire just call a high dollar consultant, for lack of a better word. We could do that, and I've been through some of those processes in the past, and it can get a little expensive. My sense here is to keep it a little bit more smaller in scope. We do want to get some feedback, of course. We got to make a good effort to do that. But I don't know that we need to spend a lot of money, and I do like the idea of using people who are local in the lake area. So that's where that stands right now. We didn't feel like it was a good idea to try to start right in the middle of the summer. And so if we do get started with this, and I think we should, but we're kind of looking at the fall, maybe you try to do something in August, although that might be bad. There's a question mark. Maybe you guys give me some feedback. How much do we try to engage the visitors, the tourist crowd? There's kind of some pros and cons.
I would think it'd be really tough to do in August. That's probably one of the busiest months we're gonna have in the lake.
Yeah.
And people are gonna be not wanting to be, bothered with that.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of how we looked at it. So right now we're kind of looking September, October-ish. Maybe do the public input at that in the fall, and then over the winter try to wrap it up, get it to the board for adoption by February, March next year. You don't want to rush it, but once you start the process, 4 to 6 months should work. So that's kind of where we're at in the planning and zoning side. We're seeing some new construction here and there, and I'd like to see more of that, of course. But, nothing. Even if I knew, even if it was kind of secret, I wouldn't let you know, or I wouldn't let you know. But now I haven't heard any rumblings on the commercial side. Most of the conversation we've had in here has been more about residential. Some nice stuff, though. There's some nice projects being proposed. That's all I got.
So for just a question, for maintaining it from you guys, is it, since Sunrise Beach doesn't own the road, but you're gonna, I guess, patrol it?
That's a question that I proposed to our legal, and I'm not gotten a real good answer yet. They came up whenever we were looking at the Frankie and Louis annexation. Basically, we kind of dropped it because with that annexation, we're annexing the roads, we're just not maintaining them. So this one, I don't know that I would have any jurisdiction on that road. I would on the properties to the side of it, but not the roads. I mean, that's something we'd really have to put to the attorneys and ask them.
But you have jurisdiction down at Paradise.
Yeah, so anything that happened on the property would be ours. And we would obviously be patrolling the road going back and forth from Paradise. We're going to do regular business checks. But if we saw anything happen on the road, I don't know, so say somebody was speeding through there, I don't know that we could enforce that speed limit.
That would be the sheriff there.
That would be the sheriff's office. That's my understanding. We kind of dropped it when we were doing the Frankie and Louis thing because we got the answer we needed. Did you ever hear anything?
Deer Valley, we are accepting maintenance on.
Right, but I mean like the private roads within Deer Valley. Yeah, so we didn't go any further with talking to legal on it.
That's a question that exists now, because it's still a private road. We're not changing that status for you, just the property on either side of it. So
Right.
you wouldn't know whether you had jurisdiction on that private road as it is now.
Well, I mean, to tell you, so basically like Trails End would be the closest thing I could compare to with the talk of the board of annexing Trails End Road. We get several complaints a year of people parking on Trails End Road, right across the street from the business, on the road. I can't do anything about it because we don't have the road. It's a county road. So I would imagine it'd probably be the same thing here to where, yes, we have the business, we have their property inside city limits, but the road itself is not. And so we wouldn't be enforcing anything on it.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Now, if anything did happen on it as far as a crash or anything, county and highway patrol would probably ask that we go ahead and handle it. But for traffic violations, I don't think we're going to have any skin in it.
Adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second. All right.